Hey guys, JJ here, back for another Wednesday of Zoom networking, and we got one of my favorite people in the world on as a guest speaker today. The young man we have on is absolutely awesome. He's one of the rising rock stars in Pace's community. He's one of the celestial stars in Pace's community, sub two. Started as an investment student, became um, full-fledged investor and a successful entrepreneur, specializes in land amongst many other talents. He's a father, dad, husband, family man, and just one of the nicest guys I know. I'd like to introduce you to my good friend, Mr. Austin James Marvell. How are you, my friend?
Hey, JJ, or you go ahead and send me the invoice for that intro, man. That was great.
There you go. There you go.
I,
Yeah. You know,
man, I really cherish our friendship, and
I do
we've
too.
been working on our friendship over the past couple of years. I know it's a matter of time before we make a ton of money in LA together or here. It doesn't matter, but
Yeah,
I really love
period.
what you're doing, man, from multiple facets. You're like building your dream house, and it has an awesome legacy story. You're helping so many people, and you get told no over and over again, but I've seen you never give up and just be persistent going towards that goal. So I just applaud you for
Thank
being
you.
you, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep it up, please.
Thank you so much. It's never about the people that tell us no. It's about the people that tell us yes. And as long
Yeah.
as we remember that maybe 1 out of 10 people are going to really resonate with us. Maybe of all the hundreds of people we meet, the 1 out of 10 people can bring us any value, that we don't let the negativity stop us, but we just keep continuing in search of people that are like us. Because
Yeah.
other people out there, they work with and help those that are like them. And so we
Yeah.
find people that are like us. So again,
Yeah, man, it's so important to be around people and that I think Brent Daniels is his name, and he has a community that's literally just talk to people
talk to
because it's a
people. Yeah,
numbers game. Maybe 1 out of 10, maybe 1 out of 100, maybe 1 out of 1,000.
exactly.
Whatever it is, you need to just keep talking to people and get as many no's as you can because the every no that you get brings you closer to the next yes. And as soon as all you need is one yes. It can
Mhm.
change your freaking life if you get one yes. So it's
Yeah,
so hard sometimes when, money's an issue. I live in a real world. We all have issues that we deal with. Health can be an issue. I have young kids, so sleep sometimes is an issue. So there's all these like mental blocks. But if you just never give up, you just get closer to a yes every single day. It's just a matter of time and a matter of reps. It's a
yeah.
numbers game, really,
So
life.
true. So true. And finding people that we resonate with. We talk about talking to people. Not to spend too much time in, but my group, what we do a lot of times is we're inviting people to talk to other people, is practicing our rap. How do you talk to another investor? So what do we
Yeah.
talk about? And we say we're going to talk about the acronym Ford. FORD, like the automobile, and that we
Yeah.
build rapport talking about things that make us like others. What makes me like you? Family, occupation, recreation, dreams, and this is how we build rapport. And with our group, we practice talking about this time and time again. One, it allows us to develop a rap. Two, we're meeting another investor that we can then add to our friends list who we're engaged with in real time. Three, maybe become a friend with this person. You never know, but by constantly talking to more and more people and practicing what we practice within our group, people in our group are polishing their interpersonal skills and their ability to talk to other investors, which leads to buyers and sellers. And I like to say that the more we talk to other people within our group, whatever group you guys might be in, the more comfortable you will become at talking to other investors. And the more
Totally.
comfortable you become, the more confident you become. And the more confident you become, you have no other option, the more successful you're going to be. But
Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
totally agree, man. We have
predicated
these
on
mental
predicated.
blocks that just
Yeah,
disappear when you talk to people and you just be a normal dude or a normal like person, who's just genuinely interested in the light that is in the person on the other side of your
like when you and
eyeballs.
I met, we didn't talk about real
Yeah.
estate. We weren't talking about a lot of things. We
We
just
talked
kind of
about
clicked.
Hollywood and your
Well, you had
tattoo
your
and
camera with you, and you're a
yeah,
Mr.
yeah,
Camera guy. We started talking about photography,
yeah.
and
Which, by
what
the way, I just got a ton of camera stuff back there. I'm a professional photographer, and that's what got me into this. I started shooting real estate and counting how much commission is that agent making, and then meeting people who are developing land. And I'm like, how much money are they making when they sell these projects? So the flippers, I just talk to people when I went to a new
Talk to
place where I
people.
knew nobody
Talk
and
to
just
people.
talk to people, talk to people, talk to people. And for me, it was cameras. I didn't think anyone was willing to ever pay for pictures. I was getting a marketing degree and I was like, how do I bring value to the marketplace, the real world? I didn't want to go get a job. So I've never had a cubicle desk job ever, and I never will. So I was like, how do I find the people who are doing what I want to do and provide as much value as possible? And you've probably heard that cliche sage advice in so many different books because it's used over and over again because it works. It's a repetition game, but you get around the people that you want to be like and just try to provide as much freaking value as possible. Just give, give,
Exactly.
give. And eventually you start to see like, oh, that thing that I did 3 years ago that was just I've forgotten about it, but it was a nice thing that I did for someone. I never expected any money or anything. That came back to me 3 years later when they introduced me to the right person who's like, oh, we should start doing business together. And you
Yeah.
never can look at that like forecasting. You can never look at it forward. It's always one of those things that you look back and kind of connect all the dots like, oh, this
Well,
had to happen that way. It's crazy, man. So
no,
when we first met, I knew something big was coming.
yeah.
I'm just so appreciative of your friendship. And we have the same dog. I mean, the blue healer thing. And
Oh, they're so smart.
yeah, they are. They're
I,
crazy.
I think mine are probably sitting around here somewhere, but they're so smart. Um,
Yeah,
you know, let's get into the call. We can talk forever, and we're going to talk forever. Um,
dude. Happens every time.
for those that don't know you, where in the country are you located?
So I live in Charleston, South Carolina. It's the biggest city in South Carolina. There's a big difference between South Carolina and North Carolina. I used to live up in Charlotte and I moved to South Carolina for a reason. We can dive into that in another call. I love to just hang out with my kids. They're really young, so it's very meaningful everything that we do. So I spend as much time as I possibly can with them. My wife doesn't work. We both stay at home and play. And I yeah, live in Charleston, South Carolina. It's a
There you
beautiful little
go.
marsh. Give me a thumbs up if you've ever been to South Carolina before. We're just north of Savannah and Hilton Head.
Yeah, not yet for me. That's definitely somewhere I want to go. I know it's one of the most beautiful parts of the country.
It's amazing.
I want to talk about you a little bit. We all get started in real estate in a different way, and there's many people, every era in my group from their 20s to their 70s, probably even the 80s in my group, in their teens in my group. I think Brett on the call right now is 19. Um,
Nice, Brett.
but we all get started at a different time in our life in a different way, and I think
Yeah.
we touched on your start briefly, I think, but you know, um, I think I know the answer, but was real estate in the landscape for you in your teens? Was mom an agent? Was dad a contractor? If not, what were you doing from your teens in your 20s? And of course, you've gotten married at a younger age, as
Yep.
opposed to some of us that don't do that later in life,
Yeah.
if at all. But what was your process? When did you meet your wife? When did you start the family? When did real estate come on? Because you said you've never had a cubicle job per se. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
what were
Good,
you
good
doing
question.
from your teens and your 20s, brother?
So I grew up after I was born in LA. My dad almost got shot. He was a pastor down there, and he was walking out of his office in Torrance, turned around to like go grab something, and he came back, and the door that he was about to walk out of, like had a bullet hole right where he was just a sign. He's like, "We gotta go. I got a young kid." So he moved us up to Washington State in a little town between Spokane and Portland in Seattle. It's called Tri-Cities, the wine country of Washington State. You think evergreen Pacific Northwest, but we have the tallest treeless mountain in the world. Tri-Cities is a trip. You don't need to go there if you've never been. But I made the best of it. And I met my wife at the time in high school. And I just was like, man, I got to get out of this little town. We didn't date. We were just really good friends, which kind of got us in trouble sometimes. But I went down to Portland, Oregon for college. And that's when I picked up a camera. I was like, man, these awesome shots I've seen on National Geographic of people swimming with whale sharks or going to the forests in Africa. Like I want to do that.
Yeah.
How do I do that? But I didn't want to ever worry about money. And I still don't. None of us do. But no matter what level you get to, you're always going to worry about something and it's going to be tied to money, I'm sure. But I didn't ever want to worry about money. I didn't want to be like a bean counter or a button pusher,
Hmm.
whatever you want to call it. I wasn't interested in that. I like the idea of leading meetings and like creating commercials and building companies. I knew nothing of the sort.
So now, when
So
you went to
I went
college, though, were you getting a degree in something? I mean, did you finish your college and then you went into it in the industry based upon what you were in college for?
kinda. So I went to college for business and then I transferred up to a school in Spokane for marketing. And, really all college is it just gives you a piece of paper so that when you're in conversations, you're like, I had to listen to a guy talk about business and marketing. But now you said there's a 19-year-old on the call. If he's on stuff like this and he can go and consume all this really valuable content at such a young age, you'll get way more than you ever would by spending however much a degree costs nowadays. So at the time, I was trying to just kind of appease my parents. I now going back, I would have totally just started to get into this space and not really paid attention to college. I mean, it was not for me.
Hmm.
So I started to like, we moved from Spokane, we call it Spokaneistan. We moved from there to Charlotte, North Carolina. And
Wow.
my wife was all in. She wanted a corporate job. By this time, we were dating pretty serious. We knew we were going to get married. And she was working for a company called Westinghouse. So she had that structured 9 to 5. And I was like, well, what do I do? I had just like graduated. I didn't know anybody and I didn't really want to go get a jobby job. So I was like, well, why don't I try to build a photography business? And that is a grind. To build any business is a grind. You don't make money, you make money, you get highs, then you get lows. And it's just, if any of you have built a business, you know how rocky that road can be. So I was learning that, and it was okay because she had stable, consistent income. And sometimes I would make a lot of money, and then sometimes I wouldn't make any money, and it was making it in chunks, right? So I was like, okay, this is substantial. And then I mentioned to you, I started getting around people who were flipping real estate, who were doing the thing that I could kind of learn from. And it's tough when you own a business and you're doing all these services for people, but you don't want to charge because you know that like it can change the relationship. So I navigated those waters. And then COVID happened. And by this time, I had a business that was really allowing us to buy stuff. So we went and bought cars, we bought a house, and then bought another house. And I was learning about not just shooting weddings and headshots and stuff like that for businesses, B2B, media. It became really, really niched in land specific marketing. So people are buying these ranches in a ranch community and I'm making the commercials. I'm shooting the content. I'm shooting the lots, learning how to just shoot and sell land. And that was kind of my start where I was like, this is a space in real estate. This is a space I want to be in. I know I have to buy residential and I know I'll buy more multifamily, but that's more of a depreciation, slow,
Hmm.
like 5, 10, 15, 20 year wealth builder. But I need active income. And I learned about the land space, man. It is, I mean, it's so much more simple and clean. And frankly, it's a lot easier. And there's no HGTV show about
Yeah.
flipping land. So my competition is so minimal. So here we are. That I joined these communities that we're both a part of to basically just elevate my circle.
Well, so
And
now getting into the land thing and buying and selling and wanting to get your own home, how did you run into Pace? How did you run into Sub Two? And how did that transpire? Because everybody knows Pace Morby. That's how you and I met with
yeah,
Sub Two. How, how
yeah.
how did you find your way into Sub Two?
Yeah, I mean, y'all remember COVID? It was like, what are we gonna do? I mean, the government's paying us stimmy checks to just sit at home and not do anything. And I was lucky. I lived in a gated community on a lake. Like we had just bought our first house. And so I had kind of set it up. I lost, as soon as COVID happened, I lost a bunch of money because I had all these booked engagements and events and stuff that I was going to shoot. And so I lost a ton of money off the bat and was like, man, that like my whole year just disappeared. And that was scary. That's the kind of thing that makes your butt pucker. I was just a young dad and I was so scared. I was like, what am I going to do? And then I kind of pivoted. I was like, this is not the only way to make money. It's just what I know. And I've known the past couple of years. I feel like something is calling me to go a different direction. So it was a quick pivot. and we started doing stuff with rentals. So I bought a triplex with an FHA loan, and we kind of did that play. And I started selling land, as I was telling you, at these like 1 day land sales and learning about the land class. I just dove all in. And that was back in 2019 when I first bought a
Wow.
rental
Okay.
and first got into
That's not
land.
too long
So
ago. Okay.
no, it's not. I'm still in this business. I think one day Pace was like, dude, you gotta have a battle buddy. Because right when I joined Sub 2 is when he was doing these 24-hour Zooms. I'm sure you remember that. It was crazy. And right when I need to join Sub 2 to be around people because I don't have enough flippers and
Mhm.
developers and people in my community. I need to be in some kind of community. So as soon as I joined, I booked a flight and flew to Salt Lake City all the way across the country because they were having a meetup. And I was like, all right, I gotta meet this guy that I just paid a bunch of money to. And so I shook his hand and I was wearing a similar outfit, nothing crazy. And I was like, "Hey man, I flew here from South Carolina. I'm just grateful for all the stuff that you put out there. I can tell
Yeah.
that it's." He was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, you're here from South Carolina?" And so he pulled together, I think Jameel and Jerry Norton were both standing there and he pulled them together. We had like a little huddle, took a picture together, and I gave them this memento, this coin. I gave each of them this little cool coin. And I was like, I'll see you guys again, but it was great to meet you guys. Thank you for all that you do. And so I think that that moment was like, okay, that's that weird kid that gave us a coin. He flew all the way across the country to come hang out with us because it was a small meetup at the time during
Yeah.
COVID and everything. So that's where I was like, dude, you gotta like you gotta make yourself stand out.
Hmm.
As you've preached this 100 times
Yeah.
from the mountaintop, got to make yourself memorable. And so I became weird and started collecting these cool coins so that people are like, why is he giving, look at this thing, like giving them really cool random coins. I mean, you can ask Pace about this. It's kind of how we formed our friendship. Over time, whenever I'd see him or Jameel at meetups, I would always have my camera in hand, and I always do. When you see me at Squat Up, you'll see I'll take your headshot for you if you want.
There you go.
And I always had this coin that I was going to give him. You're like, dude, this thing's amazing. Where are you getting these things? Are you making them? And I just use that as like, well, there's a token of my appreciation, but also it'll help you remember me. And then
Yeah.
after a year or two of doing this, meeting up with them, I finally got the chance to meet him when he was with Laura, and she's like, "Oh, dude, we have all these like coins from all over the place that you've given us, and they're like in this piece of art at our house in Arizona." So, man, after that, I was really like, I need to find my battle buddy because Pace had told me you need to meet your battle buddy. And have any of you guys give me a thumbs up in the chat if you've read or heard the book Traction or the EOS model with and don't steal the coin idea model, Troy. He'll call you a poser. I mean, you can do it, just not with Pace. Anyways, yeah. If you've been through like Traction, EOS, any of that with Gino Wickman, has anybody ever heard of that? Thumbs
I've heard
up
of
if
it.
you
Yeah.
have. Okay, so the idea is a visionary and an integrator. And basically every business has a visionary and an integrator. And the visionary is it's self-explanatory. It's someone who's very like Pace, who sets out this is what we want to do. I don't know how we're going to do it, but this is what we're going to do. And then the integrator is the person who's like, I don't know if I get all fueled up by that, but I know how we can do that. You give me this idea and I'll kind of reverse engineer it and we'll build this thing out. So back in the day there was something called Discord that Sub 2 had, and I went in that group and said, "Hey, I'm a visionary. I need an integrator." And I met up with this guy who's now my business partner. We just talked for hours about what I wanted to do, what he wanted to do, what our lives looked like. And it was a really good fit. And that took, I don't know, years,
Hmm.
a couple of years of just talking to someone. And then, no, it probably took about 6 months of talking almost every other day, really feeling each other out. There were times where he had situations that happened in his life and I had situations that happened in my life, and we kind of see how are they reacting, all this stuff, feeling someone out truly. And then we just started taking action. We are like, let's just hit the green light. We got to do this. We both have kids. Let's build a business. So let's not just replace our income, but let's build a business.
So you guys
So
have
we
been
really
together for how
niched
long
out.
now?
Man, that was probably around that same time, like 2021, 2022. So we're only about 3 years in, 2 or 3 years in
Is he in sub two as
together.
well?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's in Sub 2 and Owners Club, and we're both in other communities too.
Yeah.
But I think most people on this call are Sub 2 and Owners Club. So Um, yeah, man, we really were like a yin and yang. I am really I get fired up when I can talk to sellers, and I understand that it's a numbers game. So I just have these relationships from 2, 3 years ago, and he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna figure out the best CRM. How are we gonna market to people? Where do we want to be doing this?" And it's been a learning curve. I mean, building a business, a serious business, is no easy feat. It's a really hard thing to do. And what we are all on this call trying to accomplish is not easy whatsoever. I don't know what everyone's personal goals are, but I know that you probably think the way that I do about my goals and the way that JJ does about his goals is like their goals, they're up there because they seem almost unobtainable. If not, you need to think bigger. But that's what a business is, and you're constantly chasing that fire. So we started doing marketing and taking action and spending a bunch of money. We spent like probably ten to $20,000, which is scary. No
Hmm.
matter how much money you have, throwing 20, $30,000
That's something.
at something that you don't know if it's going to work. We, as young dads, we were like, we don't have a choice. We put our backs against the wall and we'll
Wow.
figure it out. And so we started marketing and just kept hitting walls and learning it the hard way because we didn't have enough people around us to say, yeah, don't do that or do this or that.
I'll do
So
that.
then we started joining masterminds. So like, we got to figure this out, man. We're running out of dollars real quick.
Well,
And
what you're talking about now kind of really relates to your topic, except for your topic today is AI partnerships and business development.
yeah,
This
yeah,
kind of comes full circle, doesn't it?
yeah, we didn't even try. We just got into partnerships and business development.
Yeah.
But man, you hit it on the head when you were talking about like just getting a bunch of no's and seeing how many you only need one yes, but how many no's can you get to lead to that and get a KPI, a key performance index, I believe is what that stands for. So if I
Indicator.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, indicator. If I know I have to send out 1,000 pieces of mail in this county at this price range for this size of land, and I'm only going to get two people that'll say, yeah, I'll sell you my land for that price. That means, okay, if I want to do 20 deals this year, how many pieces of land do I have to sell or send
Mm.
out? Um, that's like a real tangible asset that you need to get to quick.
Yeah.
And once you have that number, then you can reverse engineer it. Okay, we want to do 3 deals this quarter. According to this, we have to send out, 4 or 5 different pieces of mail or 4 or 5 different runs. Sorry, is what we call them, like
Mhm.
campaigns where we're throwing out a bunch of mail. So we were learning all that, and man, what a trip! So one night I'm out, like we have gotten nowhere with our business after 14 months. We've just spent all this money in marketing. We've talked to so many sellers. I'm so burnt out. I'm like, Nick, I can't keep doing this, man. It takes so much of my time, and we haven't gotten anywhere with it. And finally, something happened. I'm talking to this old lady who's like 90 years old, and she's like, I want to sell this piece of land, but I don't want to talk to you. I want my son to talk to you, son-in-law. Okay, cool. We'll see where this goes. And it turned into a piece of land that they were going to sell us for $110,000. And I didn't think much of it because we had been in this situation before, but we didn't know how to dispo property. We didn't know quite how to comp it. We didn't know what we were holding on to. But this piece of property was worth a lot more than that. And I couldn't figure that out. So one night I'm out fishing with my buddies at night under the stars, and I'm like, hey, we got this piece of property. Neither of these guys are in real estate, by the way, but I was like, we got this property locked up at this price. And my buddy, he looks at me, he's like, you got 28 acres in that city for $110,000. He said, I'll pay you $300,000 for that right now.
Wow.
What are you talking about? Are you serious? And we worked back a deal quite a bit, but you can tell even if I work back a lot, like $100,000, there is so much money to be made
Yeah.
in one yes. And that one yes, Nick and I both get paid back our time, that we both get paid back for a little bit more money to fund the business for the next year and do some marketing, and then a little bit more money to get some confidence. So once we got that one yes, it really became like, okay, now we get it. And it's just been unfolding new problems and solving them one after another. So I'm so sorry, guys. I tangent and ramble on,
No,
but
you're good, bro. I mean, we're talking about partnerships and business development. How do you develop your business? And it's through partnership. How does the AI play in today?
Oh man. Okay. Yes. Thanks for bringing that up. So when we're running a campaign, we're looking at data. Nick is a huge data guy. And what we do is we'll go into a county. First, we use this tool called Land Insights. It costs a good amount of money. I think Sumner or Healy puts it out, but we use Land Insights. And what that does is it tells us with AI, it tells us, hey, out of the US, here's like the top 10 counties that have a supply and demand issue, where you can see there's a lot of stuff that has been sold in the last 6 months in converse to, I think I'm using that in inverse, in relation to what's available.
Hmm.
So it's just like what is available versus what has actually been sold and see where that supply and demand issue is. And so you can pick out these counties and say, okay, well, I'm here. I'm a professional photographer in South Carolina. So why don't we market to my backyard? Because there's a supply and demand issue right here. And that's been major because it helps us select a market. And then we use AI for, okay, now we have 3,500 people in this list. Let's use an AI to go in and see who's out of state, who like filter all that data. Data stacking is what it's called, and basically sift out the people who are more likely to be receptive to a lower or creative finance offer. Who are the people who, if you look on GIS and you ever see the like it says ETAL, ETAL
Hmm.
as the owner, it might say like Jamie Nance, ETAL. Usually that means that the property has been handed down from a future generation. It went through probate. And so we like could scrub to find everyone who has that. Show me only the people who inherited the property, live out of state, had a death in their family recently, and they're kind of behind on, their
Hmm.
DTI. Like there's something
Hmm.
called Versium, which is another tech stack data set that we have that basically it goes through and scrubs and gives everybody a pain score of, this person just lost their wife. They live out of state. They haven't stepped on foot on this property in 25 years. They're probably going to be like, yeah, I'm ready to go. I
Yeah.
don't need that property anymore. So that's ultimately just seeing how do we solve problems because it's all we're doing. Professional problem solvers. I don't want to find the people who are in foreclosure who are like, I got to leave the house because it's getting foreclosed on. I'm going to get kicked out. Where am I going to live? I'm more interested in solving problems of people who are like, I inherited this property. It's just going to become an issue for me and my brothers, and we have to split it up. I would
Hmm.
way rather get rid of it now, cross that bridge. So, Versium, Land Insights, and there's so many other tools. You can DM me or I put my link to the Land League on here. And if you guys ever have, this is a group that all we talk about is land. We like solve problems, we do Zooms and stuff. If you ever have questions like that, if you post something in there, it'll get an answer from someone who does this more than I do. Just saying. I'd love to see all of you guys in there. But yeah, man, that I hope that answered your question.
Yeah,
That's
no,
how we
most
start with
definitely.
AI. And another AI thing I was just thinking about that something that everybody has access to is, I mean, this is a free tool. It's called ManyChat, and you can plug that in on like Facebook Marketplace. You can plug that in to kind of help you with a chatbot. Another good one is ChatGPT. I mean, that can really help you. That can bring you to another level of the human experience. That can really, really help you elevate the way that you think and the way that you do things. I mean, not everybody knows about ChatGPT yet. So use that. It's just getting better every day. And if you can write up a pro forma or you can send up an offer letter, you can do so much. You can have it write your emails for you, do your ad copy, make images. I'm making videos with AI. That's a
Wow.
different business model, but yeah, utilize every piece of AI that you can. So yeah, man. What questions do you have, JJ, about splitting up land? I mean, you own shopping centers or plazas. You've been in Hollywood. You live in the city of Los Angeles, man. It's crazy how those fires ran through
Oh,
and I mean, crazy. And luckily they banned any kind of marketing or outreach to property owners there. But there's land there that is going to be bought up. It's going to be redeveloped. It's no secret. So, what do you think, man? What questions do you have?
gosh. As far as land, when I think of land, I think of, you know, 100 acres, 1,000 acres, 50 acres, 20 acres.
The
The
American dream.
land in LA, although there are neighborhoods, there's square blocks, there's square miles that have
Yeah,
been flattened out by the fire, and the fires were just a wall of fire as it came at.
horrible. Yeah,
Um, but I think more about, you talked about the couple that had a big parcel of land, and there's some urgency to sell on the owner's part. And what's the best way to acquire land if somebody wanted to get into buying land of quantity? I'd love to get like just 20 acres for myself.
yeah, you
Even
should.
5 acres, 10 acres. We talked about South Carolina.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
always going to own my property in Southern California. But I'm very open to owning other parts of property around the country. How hard is it to go buy, you know, acreage? People hear about the
yeah,
country in Austin,
yeah,
North
yeah.
Carolina,
I mean, if
Tennessee,
you have
South Carolina.
cash, man, if you have cash, you can do so much. I mean, you would be so land is one of those asset classes. Like I said, there's no HGTV show about flipping land. It's not a sexy business model, but it's one of those asset classes where like the motivation is just so much different. And if you can buy land with cash, you have a leg up for most investors because you can find these people who need that cash. They don't need what their property's worth. They need that cash. So if the property is clearly worth 130,000, you know that. As long as you're not a real estate agent, you don't have to tell them, "Hey, your property's worth 130. Would you sell it to me for 49?" You just say, "Hey, I have $49,000 cash and I can close in 3 weeks." And if you can find the right people, I mean, there's plenty of ways to do that. But if you can be that guy, that's amazing. Now, not everybody has $49,000 or more, add a zero to it, whatever. It's just for conversation's sake, but not everybody has that. So I would really lean into like the creative finance thing. I mean, we are doing a deal right now. It has a big entry, but it's owner finance, so there's no banks and there's no payments for the first year, and it's a super low interest rate. And by the time we sell them, we'll basically double the money. It's a 6 lot subdivision in a community. So getting creative and solving problems and really knowing what you want and manifesting that. I mean, this house that I'm in, you and I have talked about manifestation enough. This house that I'm in, I wrote down 3 years ago what I was looking for. Waterfront, seller finance, big land piece, huge hardwoods, trees, and guest apartment, gated community. Like I wrote that stuff down and the bedroom bathroom count. And when I was moving into this house last year, I found this piece of paper and I almost started crying because I was like, dude, I wrote this down and I used to look at it every day because that was my vision was so vivid and
Hmm.
the timing worked out and I got this awesome owner finance deal and didn't even remember that I had written that down until years later. So same thing with land, man. If you want 20 acres and you want to have a ranch out west or you want to have a ranch down south, down in Augusta or something where you can have horses, just write it down, man. It's crazy what the subconscious mind is capable of doing. It's
Yeah.
absolutely insane.
Yeah. No, my dream actually is to have multiple parcels of land and actually have someone that would live at each parcel of land as an on-site caretaker
Yes.
of the property, allowing
Yeah.
them a nice place to live in exchange for making sure the place runs smoothly when I'm not there. Odette, you were on with Austin. What's your question?
I came across a guy who was in foreclosure actually. He wanted to sell his 38-acre lot.
Okay.
And of course, being someone who really doesn't know how to do comps or anything like that, I wanted to know how to do it and then what is the best like action for me to go forth with this transaction.
Yeah, yeah. Good question. So, to I mean, education is huge. Everybody on this call knows that you can consume content forever. It will never stop. But at some point, you have to take action. You have to start talking to sellers, and they get the problem in front of your face, and you real mathematically are like, how do we solve this problem? If they're in foreclosure, can we stop that? I mean, did he buy it at a good price or she? Or are they in over their heads? Like, is it comping out at 50,000 an acre? but they bought it at 100,000 an acre. Sometimes you come across really bad deals where bad investors made bad decisions and they want you to save them. But that doesn't sound like the case. I mean, we're probably all well enough. Is astute the word? We're well enough, and like we know that a deal is a deal versus not. So you comp the deal, and you want to see like, is this really worth what I would need to pay for it? Typically, for land flipping, what you'd like to do is be around 50 to 60% of market value. So if I know that this property right here sold for $100,000 last week and I have the chance to buy the property next to it for 40 to 50, that's a deal all day. And you'll get someone like there's plenty of people on this call who will fund that deal. If you can show that, hey, the last five properties that sold for $100,000, they sold within 90 to 120 days of them being listed because everybody has a fear. I was talking to a lender today, and he's like, man, land just tends to sit. Like, no, 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 it doesn't. The land that sits, you see land that sits on the side of the highway and you pass that sign every single year. That's because that investor either made a bad decision, they've got a horrible real estate agent, it's not marketed properly, or it needs a significant price adjustment. Because land, it moves quick. Right now, especially, it's a hot commodity. There's a lot of people who want that same homestead dream. So if you've got a deal, find someone who has done a similar deal. I know plenty of people in Arizona, um, depending on where it is, if it's in like
It's in
Sedona or
Ohio.
something like that.
It's in
Somewhere?
Ohio.
It's in
Ohio.
Ohio, even better. I mean, Ohio is so lax for subdividing, and 33 acres, if it has a lot of road frontage, it's not too steep. That Ohio is a hot market. That's definitely something you should consider talking to him further about.
It's a
And
farm
all these things,
farmland though. It's a farmland.
it's beautiful. That's what you want. Most of my
Oh.
properties are farmland. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you want. So
See
if it's
what
33
JJ's
acres,
can do?
go ahead.
See what JJ's community can do?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, it really only takes one deal. So I'd say take relentless action. If you want to do land, you just do it. It sounds like you have an opportunity right in front of you. So I would just try to lock that up or offer on it, get an LOI or any of that. And if you need help with that, let me know. But you
Yes.
really just take action, create chaos and then solve the problems. And sometimes, I'm not going to lie, sometimes you're going to be like, "Ah, I'm never doing that again." But
Hmm.
you'll know for the rest of your life what not to do.
Right. Oh, thank you so much, Austin.
I'm excited for you. Let me know in 6 months how it all
I
works out. You're
will.
going to make a lot of money on this deal.
Mark, you are on with Austin. What's your question, my friend?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Yeah, with all the stuff you mentioned, the burn that went down over here in LA, like all that cleanup, like what are they gonna do with all that kind of stuff? What can you say about that?
Man, it's so crazy. So I actually got hit up by someone because I'm a partner in a development company, like land clearing and development, and they asked me to come help them bid on a project to help clean up LA. And I just in my head, like my buddy lost his house in Malibu. And I was snowboarding with him in Whitefish a few months ago and a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "Dude, I can't get to my house. It's going to take like years before contractors go to build my house. There's so much stuff
Yeah,
on those steep roads that has to get cleared and all that." And I mean, y'all are obviously boots on the ground, so you see what's happening, what's not. They're not letting everybody in. So
nobody.
that's a long process. And I'm frankly trying to stay out of LA until, June, this picnic, this mastermind. But I don't know if I could ever live there, man. And I think the development is going to be, how would you say, there's going to be a lot of red tape, like the redevelopment, because it's happened and it's bound to happen again, even if it's in 300 or 400 years. It's bound to happen again, probably much sooner than that. And they're going to redevelop it in a different way that is
Oh,
likely going to be a lot
definitely.
more sustainable.
Yeah, well, and it's crazy because a lot of those homes were built independently over decades, and
Yeah,
developers these days they want to go and
dude.
take a blueprint and apply it to 1,500 homes in the neighborhood that they all look. I call them honeycomb housing. They all look the same,
Yeah,
and
yeah, it's a
I don't
nightmare.
see that happening in Palisades for one, much less
Yeah.
Pasadena. But yeah, in answer to your question, Mark, I mean, even being here in LA like you are. The cleanup's going to take forever. I don't even think they have a scope for how to handle the cleanup. And then to build those many homes in that period of time, it's a good time to get your contractor's license in LA because there's not
Man,
enough
yeah,
contractors in LA.
it's a problem that is going to need solving and creative solving too. So if you know people who lost their property, if you can help them start helping them solve their problems, I think you'll be happy you did that.
Yeah, and
But
just on that very note, because I know I'm building my home, and this doesn't apply to what we're talking about. Maybe it does, but for those that are thinking about building a home, you're going to get a contractor. Never, never, never get your contractor and your architect working under the same umbrella that they come together. Because by chance, if you should fire your contractor, as I did recently, you lose your architect. You do not want those connected in any way. One works from the right and one works from the left, one works from the east, one
yep.
works from the west. But you do not want your architect and your contractor being on the same team because if you fire your contractor, you lose your architect. So
Yeah, man, that's just a good rule of thumb. Even in my industry, I could go to a company to get a survey, get wetland delineation, do the whole thing, or I could hire these subcontractors myself. And if you're able to go out and find your subs, even like renovating a house, I've done the same thing. If you have a plumber, if you have an electrician, you have a landscape genius who can completely transform a property, and you have a handyman, like you need those people on your team. In our Airbnbs, it was like we would really lean on our cleaner. Like, hey, get your husband over there, have him fix
yeah,
that thing. I don't want to, just because of time. I need people to be able to do this stuff. And I think you'd form that same team in LA as you're solving problems. I'm sure, JJ, you probably have great subs out there now. I mean, now that
yeah,
you're almost
I've
done.
got a great team of people. I know the people that
Yeah.
I'm working with after wrapping up my house.
Yeah,
Um,
as you're done. So
they're
you
going
need
to
to
be.
flip another house there, man. Now that you've got a team,
I could
you know you've got a
probably
cabinet
do
guy.
exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, Mark, did we
absolutely.
answer your question?
Yeah, it's I was listening to Cardone. He was talking about all that mess over there, and it's like, a couple $100 billion of damage, and
Yeah,
the thing with the jobs thing crossed my mind too. I'm like, man, there is so much work to do here.
yeah,
Um, what's crazy is some of these people with these properties are still paying a mortgage on an empty lot.
dude, you're totally right. Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
like, wait a
they're
minute.
between a rock and a hard place, most of them. And they can accept the insurance claim. It's going to be less than what their house was worth at the time, and they can also choose to rebuild a house. But that might take 3 years, and you're going to pay that mortgage every month on that
Yeah.
lot until that house is built. It's not a good situation. Luckily, there's a lot of people who know about it. Like I was here for what happened in Western North Carolina. I built a company called WNC Strong with some of my buddies, and we've helped a lot of people. And that is something that's been so swept under the rug, and now it's been forgotten. And the same thing is going to happen with LA. It's already starting. Like it's going to get forgotten, and it's going to look like that until it doesn't. And it's going to take years. So, I mean, I look at it as a great opportunity for anyone that's in LA. You have an opportunity to help solve a lot of people's problems. I mean, my mind goes to like, well, temporary housing. There needs to be a luxury temporary housing product that's like high-end multifamily for all those people in that zip code that
Yeah.
still want to come do the stuff in LA, but they need a condo or a townhouse, and they're like, "Yep, I'll take the money and just buy this $1.2 million condo or townhouse."
Yeah.
And if you can do that at scale, I look at that as being a great opportunity.
Very
So
cool.
I don't know. It's really sad what happened. I feel for LA.
Yeah,
And
there's a lot of work that has to be done, preceded by the cleanup and all that kind of stuff. Hey guys,
yeah.
let's jump on. We got a couple more questions. Mark, thanks for coming on today, my friend. Mr. Troy Caudell out of Indiana and Illinois. You're on with
Hey Troy, how you
the
doing,
Austin
man?
Marvell.
Nice to meet you, bro. How you been?
I like your coin idea.
Don't take it. No, it's cool, man. I just started getting random coins. I think the coolest one that I got was like Pace will tell you this too. It's from like the Ottoman Empire, like ancient
Wow.
Mesopotamia or India. I don't know. It's just this crazy looking old coin that I found either in a pawn shop or on eBay or something. And I had never seen anything like it. And when I gave it to him, he was like, dude, what is this? And I just said, I have a time machine and I have to live up to my last name, Marvel. So yeah, that's how I have stood out over the years. But yeah, thanks, man.
Uh, and I'm in the same neighborhood as you and JJ. I got a blue healer. She's playing around it
Nice.
right now.
Yeah. How old is that puppy now?
4 months.
Man, I'll tell you, take your favorite pair of
Wow.
sunglasses, your favorite
Yeah.
shoes, and your favorite jacket, and put them up high for 2 or 3 years.
Oh my gosh, man. The best investment I made was training my blue healer because it's such a smart dog. These dogs are instinctually bred to bring you 500 head of cattle from the mountainside and bring them to you. And we have them in our apartments or our houses and they're just like, "Let's go. I need a job." So get it trained, man. It'll change your life down the road. My dog, he's a healer, so they know like 600 words. I can sit there and talk to them, and I feel like I'm talking to a person. I can be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, man, I need you to just go pee, go poop, and then come back inside." And we have a
Give me,
big property,
give me a
so
beer.
like, fine, yeah, he would get me a beer if I drank.
Troy, on a serious note, find an AKC accredited obedience program and
You'll be
teach your
happy you
dog
did.
a sit, stay, down, stay, come on recall. With a dog as smart as that, you need to have your dog trained to the ultimate for obedience. And then from that, you could do things like agility, where you're now
Yeah,
teaching your dog to run a perimeter. And then, of course, you can get into things like they have herding, they have scent trials. But anyhow,
absolutely, absolutely, man. You'll get a really good return on investment because that dog's going to live for 12, 15 years.
yeah,
If you have that companion who's trained to do exactly what you want.
best dog in the
My
world.
dog's name is Smokey. I say Smokey, and the way I say it, he comes and stands right next to me because he knows I'm serious. I mean, he flew across country with me like 15, 20 times
Wow,
after I had gotten the training. So get the training, man. Get that dog trained.
very much. Troy,
Uh,
did you have a real estate question for us?
Actually, I have an AI question.
Okay.
Nice. Let's get into it.
With them coming out and saying they're saying no to using AI for uh, calling and messaging.
Yeah.
How's that? How do you think that's going to affect what was coming down?
Well, we knew it was going to happen. Thank God it did, because I was getting, as a property owner, I was getting all sorts of calls and texts. I'm sure you guys were too. And there were times when I would call in and need to get something done, whether it's with like Airbnb support or just a company that I needed to transact with. And AI like tries really hard, but it's not a human. I need a human that understands what it's like to be human to solve human problems. So I'm actually grateful that that happened. And I shouldn't be because we were building an entire company that was going to be outreach just with AI agents, and we were going to replace our entire funnel. I'm glad we didn't go down that route. But something that you want to do is kind of read between the lines as this stuff continues to come out because the laws that you're referring to, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're more for outbound marketing. Now, if you can set up a really good pay-per-click ad and you can have everyone call in, and then you have something like ManyChat or you have an AI bot that is helping process those leads, in order to stay in compliance, all you have to do is have that AI bot announce, "Hey, I'm a chat bot or I'm an AI bot." And then you're good. So you can stay within compliance and you just have to figure out how to drive those leads to you. So we still look at it as a blue ocean. There's still a lot of opportunity with AI, and we intend fully to use it to its fullest best ability and also stay compliant. We've got too much to lose.
And one of the other things I've had people say is like Chat GPT is dying. I was like, Chat GPT is not going anywhere. There are too many
Yeah. Dude.
things that you can do with it and too many
Yeah.
add-ons with it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You're hearing from downers who don't want it to be real. I mean, Pace answered this. I was up in DC at an event a few months ago with Pace and some of the leaders up there. And someone asked a question like, how do I talk to my family about real estate? None of them are real estate investors. And Pace just abruptly was like, don't. You were speaking a different language. So if you're bilingual, you speak Spanish and English, and you go home to your wife's English speaking family and you're only speaking Spanish, it's just not going to be a good conversation. So if you have downers and negativity, people that are in your sphere that are just like, oh, AI is dead. That's like when they said that, it'll never go digital. It'll go back to film. Okay, sure. Or, people who are stuck there, they don't want to go to where we are inevitably headed. And I just embrace it. We don't have control in this life. Just embrace what's happening and utilize the hell out of the systems and processes that we
Yeah,
have access to
very
right
much
now because
so.
we don't know how long we're going to have them. Like it changes every single day. So I would just stay after it and stay on the pulse and use it as
And
much as you can.
telling people is AI is not going to replace your job for the most part, but somebody using AI will
Yeah.
if you don't keep up.
Yep. You got it, Troy. That's an absolute fact, man. That's exactly how it works.
Troy, thank you so much for coming on, my friend. Hey, Chris, how are you? You're on with Austin Marvell.
What's up,
What's up,
Chris? Nice to
JJ?
meet you,
Thanks
man.
for having me. Hey, nice meeting you, Austin.
Nice to meet you, brother. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. I feel like me and you could talk for a long time, bud. I was a land surveyor for many years.
Wow. Yeah, I can tell by your accent we would talk for a long time by fire.
Oh, bro, we'll talk property and easements all night long.
Let's go. Where in Texas are you based out of?
Dallas, Texas.
Nice, man. So are you gonna go to this Squad Up Summit here in a few weeks?
Absolutely.
You know,
Yes,
Okay.
I would definitely be there.
Chris and
You
I are
need to come
talking
find me,
about
man.
organizing a uh, Friday night meetup. Like, Friday night at the hotel before the Saturday event. We'll
Yeah.
meet at the bar from like 6 to 8. And at
Yeah.
8 o'clock, we'll then go over to Cowboys Red River with as many
Love it.
people that want to go to, a Dallas honky tonk and check out a very large country western club with live music and dancing.
Oh man, that sounds amazing. Please invite me.
Yeah, you're invited,
Yeah.
brother. We'll go.
Hey, Chris, I've sold a lot of land in Texas, man. I've done most of my stuff down in the hill country outside of San Antonio, but I absolutely love the state, and that is just incredible because there's so many people and still so much land. Living in a big city like Dallas, I mean, I've been down to Corsicana, uh, all those suburbs, and it's just like it's its own country. So I feel more Texan than Carolinian because over the last 3 or 4 years, I've spent time down there selling ranches. And man, to be a surveyor down there, you can do a lot of awesome things. To be in the land space in Texas as a Texan, you can do so much. See, I market to the Carolinas because I'm in the Carolinas. You know what Carolinians hate more than anything? New York and California come into Carolina to try to change it. It's a very similar mindset in Texas. They say, "Don't California my Texas,"
Yeah.
and I think if you just start talking to someone, especially if it's an old lady, you're like, "Ma'am, I got to buy land because it's what I got to do. I've known this for a long time, and I don't want to compete with New York and California on Zillow because they are driving the prices up like crazy." That is such a good line. Don't use it always, like hold it in your pocket. But for any of your deals, if you're working locally, that's just a little tidbit. I'm sure you've heard it before.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll keep that one close to heart.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the questions I have for you. I was wondering, is there a certain state in particular that you do like to buy land in?
Yeah, yeah, man. Personally, I like the Carolinas the most. I think my second best would probably be Texas, and then maybe Oregon, Idaho, Washington, Montana. And the reason is because these are states that I know. These are regions that I have photographers, I have surveyors, I have people in these areas that I can lean on. So I would probably, as a Texan, I'd find the pockets outside of Dallas. If you're in Dallas, I'd find the pockets outside of Dallas that everybody wants, but nobody can get into, and figure out how to get into those. And there's so many resources about like what I was saying earlier about finding the out of state owners, finding the people who inherited the land. There's so many resources out there, especially if you're willing to spend some money to find that data and just cold call. Right now, my system, the way our business works, We have people who are doing the initial cold call. They'll probably have 3 or 4 touches to tee up a conversation with me. By the time I talk to them, I've got their property in front of me, all their like the conversations. I can go listen to the conversations and everything. And I have a conversation with them, and we're on a 3 call. Like we first call is just introducing each other. I do the Carolina thing. They hear my kids running around in the background. They hear I'm a real person, not a VA. The second call, we are talking about price. We're seeing if we can make a price and terms work. And then by that third call, I know exactly what price we're going to do, the terms we've got, all the questions I have are answered, and we're ready to lock up the contract and we're doing contract review. And I think you can take that same flow without investing in marketing dollars because that costs us 5 or 6 grand a month to do, which trust me, it is a lot. It sounds like a lot to a lot of people, but you make yourself 60 to 100 grand on each of these deals, and you can pay for a lot of months in marketing.
Yeah.
So all that being said, man, just take relentless action. Find those pockets. You know them. If you're local, you know them. You can
Yep.
get on Land ID. You can see where it's all going. There's so many free tools out there. You can ask ChatGPT. Yeah, I would
I'll
just
reach out to you.
find them.
Hey, a friend of JJ's is a friend of mine.
Yeah, man, I'm
Let's
excited to
go,
meet you.
brother.
I'll come out to Texas. We'll have a good time.
Hey,
Absolutely, man. I look forward to meeting you in person.
Hey, man, likewise. Nice to meet you.
thanks so much for joining us, Chris. Austin, great call. You dropped a lot of gold nuggets. We've talked about a number of things, including land acquisition and how to do that, partnerships and business development.
Yeah,
Um, Great value. Love your conversation. Love your presentation. Everything about you. You become very successful at a very, in my opinion, very young age, and it's just good to see what happened. Good thing. It's great to see the good things that happen to good people.
oh man,
You're very
thank
well
you.
deserving, and you're beyond on your way. You have nothing but great things in front of you, and I look forward to really in the next year or two getting to do some land deals with you and to buy good amounts, good sized parcels because that's what I want to do. One, I'd love to have
Yeah,
a piece of land out by you and just bring my cattle dogs and let the horses run loose. Hey, really
yeah,
quick,
man.
let's you've dropped so much value. A number of people are like, how can I follow up with you? If people want to connect with you, what's the best way to reach out to you? If they're watching on YouTube or we
Yeah, yeah,
on
yeah.
the line.
So I just in the Zoom, I dropped a link to our group, the Land League, and what we're gonna do. Even if you're on YouTube listening to this in 6 months, it might have already been released by the time you're listening to this. In the Land League, we are releasing a free mini course just on land, and it's going to be like I filmed it on the back of Jerry Norton's porch out in Montana, if you guys know who that is. And basically, what we do is we just break down the basics of land. It's a course, like it's a 6 part mini series. This is just our free group, so you find people posting their deals that they've locked up. You find people asking questions, some of the stuff that we're excited about. And anytime you have a question, I mean, you can throw that up there and get a pretty quick answer. So we really want to be like the group, the go-to for people to come in and just feel like they're getting a lot from the Land League. I'd join the Land League. Look me up on Instagram, Austin Marvels. Find me on LinkedIn. Instagram, we can be friends, and same with LinkedIn. I used to be a whitewater raft guide and like an outdoor adventure guide when I lived in the Pacific Northwest. JJ, we would take sororities and like foreign
Yeah,
exchange students. We'd take big groups of people every single weekend in college whitewater rafting, dog sledding, mountain climbing,
perfect.
snowboarding, skiing. And after every single trip, every single weekend, there'd be like 5 guides, and we would, for an hour or two, go around the circle and say, what did you do good? What could you work on? And we had to do it for ourselves. And I learned so much about how to listen to what other people say because so many times people try to give us criticism but they're worried that they're going to hurt our feelings. So they end up giving us like a half-assed version of criticism.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the sooner, especially if there really is a 19-year-old on this call, the sooner that you can pick up on that and not get your feelings hurt, but literally like, oh, okay, get really, really good at finding out what people are trying to say to you. I mean, you can become a completely different person in a short amount of time. So thank you. Check back on my Facebook bio in a week and it'll be different.
Yeah,
Really do appreciate that.
let's definitely change that all out. 'Cause, I mean, and that's what I do is I help people with their social media presence, their
Yeah,
their whole social media presentation. How do we just our Facebook page becomes our digital business card to the world that should list all
totally.
your websites, all your links, all your activity. Things as simple as, did you go to Richland High School? What are the different things that
Go
would make us
Bombers.
who we are?
Yeah,
Other
yeah,
people are
yeah,
gonna resonate with. So that was my
yeah.
question: is how do people get a hold of you? And that would be your Instagram. And
Yeah, yeah. Austin Marvel, you can find me. It's 2025. Just look up Austin, like the city in Texas, Marvel, like the comics, and you can find me. By this time next week, it's going to be everywhere.
there you
I'm
go.
excited to meet everybody. Again, like I said, if any of you guys are going to that Squad Up Summit, or if you want to come to the Carolinas, please reach out to me. I'd love to see you, especially if you're doing like this if you guys are going to go out. I'd love to be a part
We
of
are
that.
go. Yeah,
And
come out with us on Friday night. We're going to.
yeah,
It's called Cowboys
what
Red River.
are you flying in on Friday or are you going in on
I'm
Thursday?
flying in on Thursday. I'm going to opening day of the Texas Rangers game in Dallas on Thursday afternoon.
Whoa. Dude, tell me
And
if you need someone to come with you. Just let me know. Just let me know.
okay, I'll see how many tickets we have. I
Amazing.
know we got at least two.
That'll be awesome, dude.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see if we can't get a third ticket. Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to this one this year, and I'm going to be intentional about it. I'll let you in the call, but before we do that, I know that you don't get asked questions enough. What are your goals for this year, man? We're already a quarter of the way through. I want to hold you accountable.
I think for the one getting my house finished, and I've just found out today that the cabinet design and build is going to take 5 months.
Oh my goodness.
So even once we get all the drywall up and we get the house painted, get the floors in, we're still looking towards, if I can get the house done by before the end of the year and
Yeah,
move in before New Year's Eve, that would be a huge win.
yeah.
But just getting everything scheduled on right behind one another. And so I'm become my own general contractor. That is
Yeah.
my major project right now. I think in
Okay.
addition to that, I've recently, along with three partners, have started my own fund and my own
Yeah.
lending business. And so I think, the other thing I really want to do is help to grow that and let people know in the communities what we at Always Capital, Always Capital, um, can do for them as we build relationships. And we're going to be working with primarily people that we know. And people have asked things about, my lending first position, second position. Every single deal is going to be looked at individually on its
Yeah.
own merit. It's not going to be any blanket answer for anything, but really to you know, open up that envelope, for that new opportunity. So finishing the house, getting the lending thing going, and I'm not going to start working on my portfolio again until I really get the house finished. But I would like to start looking for property, South Carolina, Tennessee.
Let's go.
Yeah, I would love to get that started so that by the time I'm ready, I've already been looking. I already have an idea of what's out there, what the prices are, and what the sizes are, and what has a house and what doesn't have a house. But I think in addition to that, the other thing I'd like to do this year is just really double, if not triple, the size of my group and
Yeah.
to meet more new investors that really generally want to build relationships, want to build their business, want to understand how to leverage social media so people know who they are. The more people that I can help, I enjoy that. There's no cost for my group. I don't get any financial benefit from anybody building their business except for the opportunity of surrounding myself with successful investors that I can build relationships with. Because in the long run, those relationships should come back around. But I think
Absolutely.
more importantly,
Absolutely.
just continuing to help and my group, the focus of my group is a nonprofit for underprivileged kids. And
Wow.
we raise donations to our annual picnic to then donate those to a nonprofit 501(c)(3) for a sport facility for kids here in Southern California. That they have clean restrooms, they have sanitary snack stands, parking lots, lights, sprinklers. Some of the kids that can't afford to play, maybe the parents are on a limited budget. Those kids have the opportunity to participate in the team sport, maybe learn how to be a part of a team and learn how to be a leader
Yeah.
and fulfill
Yeah.
their role. So, sports is so critical for kids
Yeah.
that if I can
Absolutely.
help towards that, that's That's probably what I really want to be remembered for, is just helping make a way for kids to see that they have a future.
Yeah, man, that's incredible. And I love when I hear someone's mission because I know like how major it is. And you can hear it when someone talks about it. They're never gonna stop. They're never gonna quit and give up. Even when they reach that ridge, if you've ever climbed a mountain, when you get to that ridge, usually it's a false summit and you see the next ridge up there and you're like, oh man, that looks like it's really far away, but you just start hiking. And then you get to the top of that ridge and it's over and over and over again. And eventually you're at this place where you're like, oh, I'm on top of the world. Look at this.
You know, it's
That's it.
crazy. On Sunday, I took three little boys to the Laker Clippers game, and they
Nice.
were 10, 11, and 13. And the 11-year-old young man is taller than I am. He's almost 6 foot tall, right?
Wow.
Um, and he's very smart, and is so smart sometimes the school doesn't really challenge him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so on the way home from the Laker game, when we bonded and we had some drinks and food, we're in the second row right off the floor. Kids loved it. I
Wow.
played that Navy SEAL video about make your bed.
Yeah.
You know that
Jocko.
video?
Jocko
Yeah.
Willink. Yeah.
Yeah. And we played it on YouTube as I was driving. I handed him the phone. But in the back is this the smallest little kid, 10 years old, and he's listening to me coach the 11-year-old on challenging yourself. And the older you get, life's only going to get more difficult, and you have to prepare yourself for the challenges. And no one's going to hand you anything. And you have to realize that the higher you go in your training and your education, the stronger the competition is going to be. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
you cannot allow the fact that you're good now to be enough to let you slide by later, but you got
Yeah.
constantly have to challenge yourself. And part of
Totally.
this video is make your bed every day. Because if you make your bed every day, you've started yourself off with a positive task, you've accomplished something, and then you need to do something else that's positive, something else that's positive. And if anything, if you have the worst day you know, at the end of the day when you go home, your bed is made. You have a nice clean bed to move, sit, lay into, and get into, and that you made yourself. So,
Man, yeah, you hit it on the head.
well, I drove these kids home, 11-year-old and 13-year-old brothers, and we parked the car, get out. The 10-year-old gets out too. And I'm telling these two older boys about the importance of challenging themselves. Do you always have a book to read? Always be the best you can be. Listen to your mom, obey her every rule, and focus on being better every single day. Every single day you need to be better than the day yesterday.
Just 1% better is all, but
Yeah.
every single day.
So
Yeah.
the next day, the grandmother of the 10-year-old little boy calls me, or she texts me, and she says, "Thank you so much. This morning, Oliver made his bed and
Nice.
and started
Nice.
his day like he's never started his day before.
Yeah, I
Because he
love it.
heard me talk to the other boys,
Yeah.
but my inspiration to these kids affected the other younger child."
You know, it's so wild. His grandmother probably asked him, told him, make your damn bed, Oliver, every day for the last 5 years. Like, why
Yeah,
is it so hard?
yeah.
But when they hear it from a different source of light, it's just it something clicks. It hits you where you're like, oh my gosh, I get it. Okay, yes, I have to make my bed.
Well,
Not because anyone's telling me, but I have to make my bed. So
and
you have to like tell people because some people need to hear it from just you. They don't want to hear it from me. I
the
think
whole
that's what I was
thing
telling Paul too.
comes back full circle to networking.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
tell investors all the time, I tell them, networking done right leads to visibility. Visibility acquired properly leads to opportunity. And we all want the same opportunity to surround ourselves with successful people.
Hmm.
Um, and being genuine in that. And it all sounds so basic, but as we heard at the beginning of the call today, Big Mike, Rafael Orozco talks about this, Sonny Sukumar talks about this. Um, but by following the little things that I kind of suggest people do on how to be visible, how to present themselves, how to lead by example, these things have completely changed the trajectory of people's perspective and confidence. And that then impacts the growth of their business. And then they then see themselves doing things they never could do before. I'm just now seeing myself as far as a coach or a trainer, or I don't like to call myself either one of those. But if I can impart to people how to be better every single day, a little bit more than you were the day before. Well, guys, when it comes to networking, and I will challenge you, AJ, to do a video to the group, and Paul Martin to do a video to the group, Manuel Mendez do a video to the group, all the guys in the group and the gals in the group. And they know exactly
Yeah.
what I mean. You know,
Yeah.
make themselves visible. And people don't care about the mistakes, but what people will notice as time goes by is that you're consistent. They won't remember the beginning, but they'll remember seeing you grow. And then
Absolutely.
you make your own spot on the landscape, guys. So don't sit back. It's not a matter of who you know, it's a matter of who knows you, so be visible. Austin,
Absolutely, man.
I want one last question. We've just covered so much today. I think we
We
may
could
have
go
to
on. We
break this
always
into
do
a,
this, JJ. We have a problem. I don't know if I can meet up with you in Dallas. We always do this.
yeah. Last question for you. My group's a networking group, and I talk about the importance of networking all the time. There's so many educational platforms out there that have investors coming every single day to their educational program, to the membership of their student body. And some of them are brand spanking new, and some of them are extremely experienced, but a lot of them are new to social media, using social media for the advancement of their real estate investment business.
Okay.
Yourself has been on the landscape for a while. You're very successful. Um, whether it's the new investor or the seasoned investor, as these investors come to the social media platform of having a Facebook page and being told to leverage social media to build their business, how important is it to leverage social media for the success of someone's business today?
Man, it's everything. And it's one of those things that if you don't work it, it's not going to work. But it's everything. I mean, these deals, this real estate thing, it's not just about buying one house. It's not just about upgrading the house that you live in, your quality of life. That's part of it. But it's it's so much more. You can truly change your life fairly quick if you tell people what you're doing and you actually do it. I mean, you have to take a lot of action, and that could mean posting on social media. And there might only, let me give you an example, man. I one time went back to my hometown, Tri-Cities, Washington. I call it the land of no HOA. There's a bunch of ugly houses there. And I was like, cool. I grew up here. I know some people that want to join Sub 2. I know some people that, like, I'm going to do a meetup and I'm going to get people to come to my meetup. And I pulled some strings because I was from there. I got my buddy to reserve me a 20 top, which is a 20-person table in the very like high-end restaurant on a Sunday morning because 20 people told me they were coming. So I RSVP'd and I pulled some strings to make this happen. A Sunday morning, 20 top in this restaurant is just nearly impossible, but we made it happen. And you know what happened? I show up and I had one person come to this group. Out of the
Oh,
35 people that said they were coming, I knew some of them would drop off, but out of all of that, only one person showed up. And dude, that one person, like we sat and had brunch. We made the best of it. We didn't count who was there and who wasn't.
mhm.
And that person, man, we talked and talked and talked and really hit it off. And that person ended up buying a house with me. He didn't want to touch the deal, didn't want to underwrite it, didn't want to do anything. He just wanted to give me 50 to $60,000 and own part of this property because he knew what I was buying. And after we had talked, he was like, this is my problem. I don't have time. And I have a lot of family stuff going on, but I want someone that I can trust. And you're the only person I've talked to
Mhm.
for this long in this group. And he'll be my friend for the rest of my life. But I spent time talking to him, and that came from social media. He had these meaningless posts that I put up in these communities where I'm trying to put like a value and tell people about a deal we did, tell people what I'm looking for, say, hey, bring me an opportunity. I don't have to buy it, but I'll tell you if it's a good deal or not and why, which is exactly what you're doing. You're spending time to help finesse, like you're helping everybody with a little flick of the wrist of like, hey, you could just do this and it will change dramatically how your appearance is online.
Change your life,
That
really.
1% every day, man,
Yeah.
that is so insanely valuable because I'm getting stuff from people are reaching out to me from posts I made years ago on the internet where they're like, "Hey man, I just saw this post come across my feed because you shared it to your story or whatever. And I actually have this land deal that I'd love you to take a look at."
Crazy.
And those opportunities, they hit me every single day. It's overwhelming how many opportunities there are. So I think if you're not capitalizing on it, you're going to get left behind. It's one of those things that you don't have, it doesn't have to be cringy. You don't have to be the guy that's just putting out weird stuff. And like if you're really overthinking it, just make a new name, new page, and just start filming yourself. Start doing
Yeah.
videos. Like don't overthink it. Just post it, forget it, and just keep going. And get as much criticism as you can. There's so many resources with ChatGPT that will tell you how to put out viral, valuable content.
Wow.
You don't have to do this in a cringy way. Do it the right way. You have access to everything that you need. You
There
just
you
have to
go.
do it.
Well, thank you so much. You've
Sorry, man.
got so many gold nuggets, so much value today. Thank you so much. I know on behalf of the people, those that ask questions and listening, just invaluable to allow us to share your time to soak up your personality and your motivation and your energy. It's been beneficial for everybody here. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, please like Austin's video. Please put your comments in the comment section, your takeaways, what you liked about the video, what you found informative. If there's anything that I could do to put a better product out there, a better interview, please put that down. What can I do to give you better product? If you guys are on the call, do not go away. We're about to stop the recording, but continue to engage with Austin. Um, Austin, great call today. I want to thank you so much for being on. Austin, as far as everybody else, we'll see them out in the world of virtual networking, right?
Yeah. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all that you do, man, and bringing me into your community. Really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for I love you. Don't go away. All right, guys, we'll see y'all later.